You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
The following message contains a special offer for listeners of this station. Are you a man over 40? Are you constantly looking for the nearest bathroom? Do you wake up multiple times a night to use the bathroom? Right now, Perfect Prostate is sending out free bottles of their groundbreaking new formula to listeners of this station. Perfect Prostate formula was developed by medical doctor Mitchell Fleischer, and its ingredients have been clinically studied to reduce your frequent nighttime bathroom visits and promote healthy urine flow. Right now, preferred customers get their first bottle of Perfect Prostate absolutely free. There's nothing to lose. Perfect Prostate is guaranteed to reduce that constant urge to use the bathroom, especially at night, and promote healthy urine flow. Don't wait. Call now for your free bottle. Just pay shipping and processing. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251. Supplies are limited. One free bottle per household. Call now. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251.
Hey folks, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, Dr. Richard Harden. We are on the same mission, which is waking up America. We just have different paths. So stay tuned for some information on how you can keep up with Richard and all his work.
Visit Richard's website at raharden.com. That's the World Wide Web at RAHARDIN.com. At his website, you can see a summary of the 6 books he has written, where purchases may be made. He also has a link to 18 videos on YouTube and several blogs about Christian beliefs. If you prefer, visit Amazon.com/Kindle and type in Richard Harden to see and purchase his books.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps stand ready to defend the American way of life. The few, the proud, the Marines.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome, everybody, and welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome once again to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network at WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, AM, FM 24/7. Indeed, we're everywhere. We are everywhere. And joining me today as my co-host is the president and CEO of AUN-TV.com, Dana Allen. Dana, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thank you, Rick. It's always good to be here, and a lot of news going on, isn't there?
You think?
Yeah.
You think?
Some bad news, unfortunately, in England. Did you see this thing with the terrorist attack?
Well, Dana, yes. And when is the Western world going to wake up and realize that we are at war and there are a whole bunch of people out there who want to kill us and destroy our way of life?
Yeah. Well, one of the things I hate about terrorism is it is very easy to do, and I used to not even talk about the method they used, which is just using cars, which is, and they didn't think of it for like 10 or 15 years. And, it's the only solution I see, Rick, is to make it so socially unacceptable that people will not, because what they do currently is they call and they say, hey, we are responsible is the word they use, and then the news media repeats the word responsible, that Hamas claims responsibility for this. It shouldn't be that. It should be that Hamas claims blame for this terrorist attack, and to make terrorism so unappealing, so just totally evil, that no one would want to be a terrorist. That's the only solution I see.
Well, Dana, also we have people in our government, our lawmakers, people who are supposed to be our leaders, the people who are supposed to protect us. Now, they're not interested in protecting us. All they're interested in doing is protecting their political power.
Ha!
That's all they're interested in.
Would have never guessed that, Rick.
Well,
no, you're absolutely right. In fact, there's a story. It's not on AUNT. It's on Drudge, and it says that the California politicians, California government, is threatening construction companies that if they work on the southern border wall, that the California will discriminate against them. And that goes right to what you just said. They're not interested in what's good for the country. They're interested in what's good for them. The people that run California government think that illegal immigration helps them politically, gets them votes through voter fraud, so they don't want to do anything that harms their voter fraud advantage.
People need to wake up, Dana. People need to wake up and understand what their leaders are doing to them. What's it going to take? I mean, we had 9/11. Don't you think 9/11 should have been a lesson?
Yeah.
But it hasn't, unfortunately, in my opinion. You know, when 9/11 happened, I thought, well, maybe this would have the same effect that Pearl Harbor did in unifying the country, to wake up the country for the country to begin to understand we are at war, and there is an element in this world that hate us, that want to destroy us, that want to kill us, that want to destroy our way of life, just like the Axis powers did during the Second World War. Mm-hmm. And for a while, I think that there was a reaction, that people were waking up to that point.
Right.
But then the liberal side of government, I guess, reverted back to the book of Saul Alinsky, which is don't let any
disaster or something, emergency go unwasted.
Right.
Which current mayor of Chicago is even quoted that phrase. Who was the chief of staff of Obama at the time?
Yes.
Yeah. There's a guy that commented on it after, and it was someone that I served with on the board of Newsmax, and that's Admiral Thomas Moore. And he said, yes, the country is unified now. He said this maybe 3 months after the 9/11 attacks. But he says, I've been around a long time. I was at Pearl Harbor. He was actually in combat in Pearl Harbor. He's a few people that got a plane off the ground during the attack. And he said, unfortunately, the American people's memory is not all that long, so I think this will dissipate. And 5 years later or whatever, I think it did dissipate. It's human nature. Our listeners have read the Bible, have seen that Israel did the same thing about 50 times in a row. They would return to God, and then things would get better, and then they would think, everything's okay, and they sort of forget about God and be sold off into slavery or whatever. And it's just a flaw that us human beings have.
Well, you're right. It is a flaw. And then after 9/11, as I said, we had about 4 or 5 years. Then the left started to attack George Bush and everything George Bush did. They began to attack the war. They began to see by opening up our borders, letting a flood of illegals come in here, that they would have the advantage because these illegals would be needing goods and services that are provided by government. They saw how that would pad their voter rolls and how they could gain power and hold power for decades.
Yep, absolutely.
Generations and decades.
That is what it's all about, is to benefit the Democratic Party.
And they, you know what, Dana? It's not only happened here in this country, but it's happened in Germany, it's happened in Great Britain, it's happened in Canada. Right. Not just happened here. It's happening all over the world. And they're definitely the rules of engagement, okay? We are at a war where the other side has no rules of engagement. And terrorism is terrorism by the definition of its name. Mm-hmm. You can have one person get into a car and hit a number of people And that becomes terrorism, because that spreads terror in the hearts of people who are now afraid to walk down the street. You can have
absolutely.
You can have two people go into a Christmas party, shoot the place up, kill 18 people, 18 people, injure a bunch of others. And that's terrorism, because people are afraid to go to Christmas parties. They're afraid to gather in groups.
I'll admit it for myself, Rick. After the 9/11 attacks, I happened to live within a few blocks of one of the most iconic buildings in the United States, the Oracle Towers in Silicon Valley, and I considered getting out of the neighborhood because they might be, targets for airliners.
Yes,
you're absolutely right.
So terrorism by the name is the definition. It strikes terror in people. And it doesn't have to be smashing an airplane into a building. It can be something as simple as somebody taking a knife and thrashing out at a group of people, and we've seen that example too.
That's right. Now, if it was treated by the news media and by society as the same as being a child molester, would it happen at the rate it does? I don't think at all. No one phones up the newspaper and say, I take credit for being a child molester.
No.
They call up newspapers all the time and say, we claim responsibility for this bombing or this terrorist murder or whatever. It's because it's not being handled right with the media. If we demonize it to the point that no one wants to admit that they're involved with it, which it totally deserves, just like child molesters need to be thought of that way, that's the only cure I can think of.
Hey, Dana, we got to take a break, but I want to make a point about how we need to be alert and how we need to alert our authorities when we see something. But you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dana Allen and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network at WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, AM, FM 24/7. And today's show, like all our shows, is being brought to you by the First Amendment, protected by the Second. Dana and I will be right back with more news and commentary.
They say I'm nasty, but
The Conservative Commandos radio show is the commander of the Conservative Commandos radio network. We've established a front line of conservative leaders and ironclad patriots to revive the promise of America.
There must be some kind of way out of here.
We patriots have succeeded in securing the next 4 years of American prosperity, sovereignty, and liberty under President Donald Trump. But the fight is never over, and we must be forever vigilant.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
Do you have a passion for American values? Do you believe in preserving the American dream? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, Monday through Saturday from 12 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 AM, or around the world on the internet at ccrshow.com and ccrsnetwork.com. Check out our websites for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, I'm Kevin Wade. Conservative Commandos is happy to welcome Liberty HealthShare as a sponsor. Liberty HealthShare is a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. Liberty HealthShare exists for everyone who purchases health care for themselves or their family, or who wants to control their own health care. I run a small business, and we were caught in the confusion of Washington's ever-changing health insurance requirements. We found a common-sense solution in Liberty HealthShare. Liberty HealthShare is not insurance. It simply unites like-minded Americans to share medical costs together. Join a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. That's Liberty HealthShare. To find out how you can easily make the change, call Liberty HealthShare today at 855-585-4237. That's 855-585-4237, or visit their website at libertyhealthshare.org.
This is Pastor Christina Lamb-Menier, chaplain for the Indiana Republican Assembly.
And I'm her husband, J.D. Menier. We won the election, but we must now install President Trump's nominees. We urge you to call the Capitol Switchboard at 202-225-3121 and ask your senators to do their job. They need to confirm Judge Neil Gorsuch and remaining cabinet members.
We, the people, never want to see another Berkeley. The First Amendment doesn't give you the right to commit acts of violence. It pains us to watch anarchy unfold on college campuses, bus stops, and coffee shops. Thomas Jefferson said, all tyranny needs to gain a foothold is for people of good conscience to remain silent. Let us join in unity to pray for America. Once again, the number to call is 202-225-3121.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dana Allen and yours truly, Rick Trader. For rebroadcast of our shows, please check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com, or at 11 a.m. You can hear a rebroadcast by logging on to Red Nation Rising Radio, or at midnight, log on to redstatetalkradio.com, or you could use your phone to hear our show by calling 832-999-1199. You don't need an app. You don't need to download anything. You don't need a radio or even a computer, just a telephone and this number, 832-999-1199. Also, please keep in touch with us via Facebook. This is my personal invitation to you to join our Conservative Commandos Facebook group page. And on that, we keep the posts limited to information about our show and the shows that are part of the Conservative Commandos radio network, so you won't be getting a lot of spam or a lot of trash. Or follow us on Twitter, Conservative Commandos, CCR Show. You'll be able to find us on Twitter. Please keep in touch with us. Dana, it's interesting. I'm really annoyed by the fact that we have judges in this country today that are preventing the President of the United States, Donald Trump, from protecting us and protecting our borders. Yep. And enforcing our laws. We've got these crazy judges, like in the 9th District and in Hawaii, of all places. And so what I did is I posted it up on my Facebook page that there is a way that we can beat these guys, that we as common citizens can do our civic duty, and if we know of somebody who has been or is in this country illegally, to report them to ICE. ICE is a department, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, has a website. ICE is part of the United States government. And the website is www.ice.gov. I posted this up on my Facebook page, and I said, this is how we can bypass liberal judges. If you'd like to report illegal aliens, please call Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, at 1-866-347-2423. Now, they'll need to know names, locations, either work or residence, and any other specific information. I posted this on my Facebook page, and it was blocked by Facebook.
Wow. That's, another case of where we have to become the media. Things like Facebook, social media is another form of media. And really, it would have been better if a conservative had invented Facebook. Would it not? You wouldn't have that.
Yeah.
We've got to become the rich guys and come up with all these ideas. I actually, in your area, Philadelphia, your in that area. I have a friend. I taught her how to teach in a city park in Philadelphia when she was a child, and she was the 12th employee of Facebook. So I think she made like $25 million off of it. Her mother, who knows, maybe her mother, Kathy Mershon, might be listening.
Well, maybe you should have married her, Dana. Maybe you should have married her. I know that's the
a little bit younger for me, but if she's up for it, I am.
After all, Dana, that was the secret to my success, marrying well.
I did not know. I knew you were really wealthy. I just didn't know how, Rick.
Yeah, I'm really wealthy, right? The fact that I just got rid of the 13-year-old car that I have for the 6-year-old car I have now. I'm really wealthy. But you know, wealth is
my whole life.
Wealth is
I don't know about you.
Wealth is a state of mind.
Go ahead. Pardon me?
Wealth is a state of mind. Wealth is being content in your life and what you do.
I'll tell you about my only new car I've ever bought. I still have it. I bought it in 2005, Corvette C6, and boy, I tell you, it's a lot of fun. And it's the highest mileage car I've ever had too. It gets if you hold off on it and drive it at 60 miles an hour, it gets about 31, 32 miles per gallon.
Is that right?
That's right, and also has a top speed of 186.
And I know out in Nevada you use every one of those, don't you?
Well, I won't say whether I did this or not, but I can tell you I've never done over 160.
Well, being that the car doesn't go above 160, you know.
Oh, no, it does. It goes to 186.
Oh, 186, but you've
That's
only...
the top speed is 186, yeah.
Okay.
So, well, I tell you what, you know, maybe we should touch on a little bit of good news. Did you hear about this new battery thing?
You were telling me about it earlier.
Yeah, no. Should
I find that intriguing.
The next segment, because this is not the AUN segment. It's not our story.
It doesn't matter. We own the station, so it's when we are here, we own the station, so we can either talk about it before or after the break. Whatever.
Well, let's do a little good news thing.
All right, we'll do a little good
story up on AUN-TV.com, and the lead story is John Goodenough. How's that for a name? This story was so good, Rick. I suspected it was a prank type story,
right?
And I checked it out. It's not a prank story. That's his name, John Goodenough. He is the inventor of the lithium battery. He's 94 years old. He still teaches at the University of Texas, and he's come up with a new battery. And I went to the University of Texas, and they had the press release up on this.
Wow.
Eric Schmidt from Google's commented on this thing, and it's our title is The Beguiling Promise of John Goodenough's New Battery Technology. And so basically this thing is better in every way. It's first of all, it's not flammable. For our listeners out there, they wonder, what are all these fires? The phones are catching fire. You can't take, certain devices on the airplanes. I looked into it. It's pretty simple. It's the electrolyte in a lithium battery is flammable.
Wow.
And batteries do short out. Car batteries do. You get enough sulfidation or whatever, and you get a bridge between two of the plates, and our car batteries are lead-acid batteries, and they'll short the battery out. Well, when that happens on a lithium battery, the electrolyte's flammable, and that's the whole problem.
Well, there have been many stories recently about these hoverboards.
Yeah.
People that have been recharging these hoverboards that they catch on fire, burnt down a house. I think it was last week here in the Philadelphia area. But Dana, you're teaching me something. I did not know that the electrolyte in a lithium battery is flammable. So what you're doing is you're applying heat and electric to it to recharge the battery. Boy, that is a formula for disaster.
Yeah, if it doesn't short out, it doesn't happen. The problem is that the whiskers grow from one plate to the other in those little batteries, and when the whisker crosses over, that's the ones that will catch fire. It shorts, and creates a spark, creates heat, and then it blows up or catches fire, one or the other. So it's but this thing he's using glass as an anode, I think it is. You have to read this story, and you can use lithium or sodium, but the electrolyte is solid state. It's not a liquid, and it's not flammable. And so in this thing, it doesn't get as hot, it charges faster, and it's cheaper than lithium, and it weighs less. It has a higher density, and so I think this is huge news. Up to this point, electric cars have relied on subsidies. This battery is good enough; no subsidies would be necessary, and I think the battery may weigh half as much, be smaller, and have 50% more range all at the same time. How about that?
Well, part of the problem with making the electric car practical has always been the battery.
That's right.
That's always been the problem with the technology of an electric car. And Dana, I'm not against these new technologies, wind, solar, battery, whatever, as long as they can be profitable without the government, or be possible without the government subsidizing them. Okay, so this would be really, really big news.
Absolutely. I know you're on the technical side. The listeners don't know, Rick has flown a ultralight aircraft all the way across the country and then up to Alaska. So you're naturally sort of a techie type guy. So
well, don't tell them that. They'll also think I'm kind of a crazy type guy. But
well, that's also true. You really want to hide that from the listeners?
I haven't in 8 years, Dana. And by the way, we are putting a link to the story up on the Conservative Commandos Facebook group page, a link to AUN-TV.com, the article about the inventor of the lithium battery, John Goodenough, is working on new battery technology. So I think please check that out on the Conservative Commandos Radio Show Facebook group page. Good stuff. Oh, Dana, you know what? I'm not watching in time, neither are you. We got to go to a break.
I was waiting for you to catch on.
Well, you should wake me up every now and then, because you are listening to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Dana Allen and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network at WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, AM/FM 24/7. Dana and I will be right back. Avoid disappointment and future regret. Don't go anywhere.
Crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
This is Rick Trader, host of the Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
And I'm John Forsyth, owner of WNJC Radio. Fellow patriots, the Conservative Commandos Radio Show is for conservatives, about conservatives, and by conservatives.
We are patriots who want to take our country back from the likes of Barack Obama, Harry Reid, George Soros, and Nancy Pelosi.
But we can't keep up this fight without your critical support today. Can you help? Please go to www.helpccrs.com right now and make a donation by credit card or PayPal. That's www.helpccrs.com.
Our goal is to expose the liberal agenda and distortions. We are fighting to spread the truth about political issues, political leaders, and conservative issues and values.
Our hosts are not paid. In fact, we buy our own airtime, studio time, and pay our own expenses.
We created the show because we are trying to make a difference. So can you help the CCRS expose the truth in 2014 and beyond? Go to www.helpccrs.com.
Help keep the Conservative Commandos Radio Show on the air by going to www.helpccrs.com and make a donation today to return our country to the conservative roots created by our founding fathers.
If your health care has become a burden and you're worried about being stuck for another year, you have options. Liberty Health Share could be the solution to your problem. Open enrollment is here and could be your chance to free yourself from insurance. Take this opportunity and join Liberty Health Share. you can finally be in control and have freedom when it comes to your health care. Liberty HealthShare offers an entirely open network, which means you choose your doctors and you choose your hospitals. Liberty HealthShare offers freedom from insurance, meaning no tax-related penalties. To find out how you can easily make the change, call Liberty HealthShare today at 855-585-4237. That's 855-585-4237. Or visit their website at libertyhealthshare.org. That's libertyhealthshare.org.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos Radio Show is the commander of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We've established a front line of conservative leaders and ironclad patriots to revive the promise of America.
There must be some kind of way out of here.
We patriots have succeeded in securing the next 4 years of American prosperity, sovereignty, and liberty under President Donald Trump. But the fight is never over, and we must be forever vigilant.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
Do you have a passion for American values? Do you believe in preserving the American dream? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, Monday through Saturday from 12 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 AM, or around the world on the internet at ccrshow.com and ccrsnetwork.com. Check out our websites for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos Radio Show, where the newsmakers go to be heard.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Dana Allen and yours truly, Rick Trader. And for rebroadcasts, check out our website, ccrshow.com, or ccrsnetwork.com, or at 11 a.m. log on to Red Nation Rising Radio, or at midnight log on to redstatetalkradio.com, or you can hear our show anytime from your phone by calling 832-999-1199. Once again, Dana, I wanted to tell you and our audience that I posted this article from American Uncensored News Network up on our Conservative Commandos Facebook group page about promising new battery technology. The inventor of the lithium battery believes he has invented a new battery that will last 5 times as long as a lithium battery and not without the dangers that lithium batteries had.
And he is the inventor of the lithium battery himself, and he's still working at the age of 94. Very inspirational story.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's probably living at 94 because he keeps his brain active.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that is one of the key principles of a long, happy life, keeping your mind active. My dear mother-in-law, she's 103.
Wow.
And the last 2 years have been a little rough on her. But up to a couple of years ago, she was very sharp. And I think one of the reasons for that is she used to do the cryptic quotes in the paper every day.
I've heard the same thing. If you keep those neurons moving around in your brain, doing crossword puzzles or whatever, it helps. It doesn't wear the brain out. It helps maintain it.
Why do you think I do conservative commandos? Keep an old brain active, buddy. Keep an old brain active.
Rick, do you know who Rand Paul works for these days?
Oh, I see him advertised on TV, but I'm forgetting.
He works for Vladimir Putin.
I didn't see that.
John McCain.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
On the Senate floor, you're not supposed to say bad things about other senators.
Yeah.
He says, John McCain says, Rand Paul is now working for Vladimir Putin. Then later on he says, so I repeat again, the senator from Kentucky is now working for Vladimir Putin. And this is all over. And,
oh, God. Oh.
Yeah, there's even video. That's on AUN-TV, AUN-TV.com too, and it is absolutely bizarre, And what it is, it's over Montenegro, a little tiny country in Eastern Europe, and they want to join NATO. And Senator Paul said, there's some dangers in doing this. It might, generate hostilities or whatever. It's just a disagreement. That's all it is. And then that's when McCain just got super mad at him. This is all on video, and says, you're now carrying out the desires and the ambitions of Vladimir Putin, and I do not say that lightly.
I think John McCain should do some cryptic quote puzzles.
Well, he is 80 now.
I'm giving him a little advice. John, cryptic quotes. I mean, keep your brain sharp, John. Let's not lose it here in the last stages.
Yeah. It just. What do you think of John McCain, Rick?
Gosh, I hate to think of what he went through as a prisoner of war.
Yeah, that was terrible. I agree.
I hate to think of. His life was changed, it destroyed, his body was broken and beaten. Terrible things happened to him. But lately, I think he's gone off the reservation a little bit. Good,
I think
poor old John.
It gets to the term limits, and unfortunately, it's not in the Constitution. We have term limits for state office holders, but for federal office holders, there aren't any term limits. And I'm in favor of a constitutional amendment to throw that in. It just seems the longer people are in Washington, there's only an exception, maybe 10 or 20% that can stay there for decades and not get whatever you want to call it, corrupted, Yeah,
there's something in the air of the water there in Washington. Dana, I really think that the majority of these people go there with the right intentions.
Yep.
And I'll give you an example. I'll give you a Republican, supposed conservative example. Mia Love.
Yeah.
Mia Love ran for Congress in Utah as the quintessential outsider. Okay? The quintessential Tea Party candidate. What was the first thing she did when she got to Washington? She voted for John Boehner. She voted for John Boehner. One of the first things she did as a new congressman, she voted for John Boehner.
Yeah. Well, there's worse things, but she was sort of.
There are worse things than voting for John Boehner. I guess you could kill your mother or something like that.
So I just detected you're a John Boehner fan.
No, I'm not. I'm not a John Boehner fan. I've never been a John Boehner fan.
Yeah.
But there's the power in Washington. Once they get there, Dana, and their whole mission is to raise money to stay there, making deals and raising money to stay there. I really like to know how much of the time they spend there is actually spent on doing good for the people. I really wonder.
Yeah. Is Jim's, I may mispronounce his last name, is Jim Sensenbrenner or from Ohio, is he still there?
No, I do not know. I do not know.
He was a good guy, because we were talking about 9/11 earlier, and the day after 9/11, big things, and people got mad at him, and when I heard him give that speech, I go, right on, John, right on.
Yeah. Hey, Dana, hold on. We do have to take a break, and you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dana Allen and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network at WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, AM, FM 24/7. Indeed, we are everywhere. We're everywhere. Don't go away. When we come back, Dana and I will talk a little bit about who our guests are for today.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is the commander of the Conservative Commandos radio network. We've established a front line of conservative leaders and ironclad patriots to revive the promise of America.
There must be some kind of way out of here.
We patriots have succeeded in securing the next 4 years of American prosperity, sovereignty, and liberty under President Donald Trump. But the fight is never over, and we must be forever vigilant.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
Do you have a passion for American values? Do you believe in preserving the American dream? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, Monday through Saturday from 12 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 AM, or around the world on the internet at ccrshow.com and ccrsnetwork.com. Check out our websites for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, I'm Kevin Wade. Conservative Commandos is happy to welcome Liberty HealthShare as a sponsor. Liberty HealthShare is a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. Liberty HealthShare exists for everyone who purchases health care for themselves or their family, or who wants to control their own health care. I run a small business, and we were caught in the confusion of Washington's ever-changing health insurance requirements. We found a common-sense solution in Liberty HealthShare. Liberty HealthShare is not insurance. It simply unites like-minded Americans to share medical costs together. Join a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. That's Liberty HealthShare. To find out how you can easily make the change, call Liberty HealthShare today at 855-585-4237. That's 855-585-4237, or visit their website at libertyhealthshare.org.
This is Pastor Christina Lamb-Menier, chaplain for the Indiana Republican Assembly.
And I'm her husband, J.D. Menier. We won the election, but we must now install President Trump's nominees. We urge you to call the Capitol Switchboard at 202-225-3121 and ask your senators to do their job. They need to confirm Judge Neil Gorsuch and remaining cabinet members.
We the people never want to see another Berkeley. The First Amendment doesn't give you the right to commit acts of violence. It pains us to watch anarchy unfold on college campuses, bus stops, and coffee shops. Thomas Jefferson said, all tyranny needs to gain a foothold is for people of good conscience to remain silent. Let us join in unity to pray for America. Once again, the number to call is 202-225-3121.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Dana Allen, CEO and President of AUN-TV.com, and yours truly, Rick Trader. And for rebroadcasts, check out our website, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com, or at 11 a.m. You can log on to Red Nation Rising Radio, or at midnight, log on to redstatetalkradio.com, or you can hear our show from your phone anytime by calling 832-999-1199. You know, Dana, I always read these breaks coming into and going out of a break, because I really do appreciate our internet rebroadcasting partners. I'm very proud of them. I'm proud that we're associated with them. I'm proud that they choose to rebroadcast Conservative Commandos, and this is always my little thanks to them, and to give them a little bit of plug. Let our audience know that they are out there and they support Conservative Commandos. And I ask our audience also to support our internet broadcast partners. So that's why I do it. Ad nauseum, maybe to some, but that's why I do it. Dana, we have a couple of very interesting guests and topics lined up for today.
Yes, someone that I've watched on TV many times, Liz Peek. She's been on Wall Street for over 20 years, and she's a columnist, political analyst. She writes for the Physical Times, and she also writes for Fox News, the New York Sun, and Women on the Web. And she's going to talk to us. The title of an article she has is, "Has Trump Hit the Wall Over GOP Health Care Bill?" But really it's about a lot more things. In fact, she focuses on the public's trust in government, which I think public distrust of the government is a good thing, but we'll probably have an interesting conversation on that. And then our other guest is Susan Swift. She's a lawyer, wife, and she's also dedicated to saving civilization from the destructive forces of progressivism. And she has an article out about Tommy Lawrence, and this is someone that works for the Blaze, who's come out in favor of abortion, and she does an article about examining her position as really a conservative or not. So we're looking forward to talking to both of them.
Okay. Also, Susan has had a career as an actress, especially as
did not know that.
Yes, especially as a child actress. So that's very interesting. Had an opportunity to meet her at CPAC. It was great because Susan and I have been Facebook friends for a long time. And it's always, that's what I love about going to CPAC, Dana, is to meet people that we talk to and have had on as guests and Facebook friends and whatever. So it's always fun.
I think I may have seen her because I see that she's also with Politichicks. Careful saying Politichicks, right? And I do recall there's a gal that dropped by about 3 times from Politichicks.
Yep.
That's the same woman.
Yes, blonde-haired lady.
Absolutely, yes. I didn't catch her last name, but I did shake hands with her. So good, I know who she is.
Yep. So we have a couple of great guests lined up as usual here on Conservative Commandos, as we always do. So Dana, what else is hot on AUN-TV.com?
Well, actually, it's sort of funny. The big story a week ago was, of course, the Trump tax returns, which aren't even being talked about now.
Yeah, you know what, Dana, you mentioned that. Oh, yeah, that was big, and where did that go? They don't even talk about it anymore. Wonder why they don't talk about it anymore. I mean, geez, this was a major news story. Ask Rachel Madcow about it.
Talking about it.
Yes.
Because it actually made Trump look good. So
yeah. We can't have anything that makes Trump look good, that's for sure.
That's right. So
Dana, I have to say something. We get this local regional newspaper, the South Jersey Times. The South Jersey Times we're talking about, Dana. And you would expect the front page to be full of local, regional, state news, right? Well, all they want to talk about anymore is Gorsuch or the FBI or the Russians in as big a headlines as you can imagine. You know, that is their sole mission in life, is to be bashing Bush. Anybody have anything to do with Bush? Last week they bashed Kellyanne Conway. And we get the newspaper for one reason. Remember I told you about my 103-year-old mother-in-law?
Yes.
She still enjoys reading the paper. But I rue the day we lose her. I mean, it's going to be a terrible day in our lives. But one of the things I look forward to is calling that newspaper up and canceling it.
How many times? I see when that happens.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I have not subscribed to a newspaper outside of the Washington Times weekly edition in 25 years. I hate 90% of the pretend media we have out there, which now, actually my term pretend media has been taken over. People are calling it fake news now, so I think that's good. But in this case of Trump, there really wasn't anything bad in it. So when this first came out, I did watch Maddow when she did the show, and I go, well, who would have given this to this reporter, And it didn't take long. I thought it over for about 30 seconds, and I go, probably the most likely person that gave this to this reporter was Donald Trump.
Now, that's a conspiracy, Dana.
It is. But conspiracies happen all the time. There's thousands of people in prison who've been charged with conspiracy to commit bank robbery or whatever. Conspiracies happen all the time. And so, I thought, well, that's just my idea, right? And so, and then I started writing an article, and I did a little research, and when the guy that got it, his name was David K. Johnson, and CNN asked him, who do you think sent this to him? And he says, I think it was Trump. And he's not a fan of Trump, but he said that he says, he's got a history of leaking things about himself, and who's the only person that it would not be a crime to release this tax report on?
Well, I guess that would be Donald Trump.
Who gained from it? Donald Trump.
I guess that would be Donald Trump.
Talking about it is because it benefited Donald Trump. So that's one story we have up. And the other, it's a story that keeps on giving, and I really feel sorry for the people of Venezuela. But there's another video out about the actual real situation on the ground in Venezuela. And the title of our report is Bernie Sanders Gets His Way in Venezuela and the People Hate It. And in this video, they're interviewing people, and these people are literally in hunger, and they cannot get food, and they talk about it's only people connected to the Communist Party, of now Maduro, which it used to be Chavez, and they say, if you have a friend that's, like the son of a general, you can go in before the store opens and get all the food you want, but if you don't have any high-up connections, if you're just a common person, you stand in line for 7 or 8 hours. You may pass out in line from hunger. You may have to have your children take your place in the line. And then when you get inside the store, there's no food. And I think anyone out there who believes in Bernie Sanders, believes in socialism, as it's called, believes the government should run the economy, you really have an obligation to view the two videos that we have in this article. It will absolutely open up your eyes when you listen to the people in Venezuela about how things really are when people like Bernie Sanders get their way.
Hey, Dana, and I'll tell you what is a shame. Venezuela, and not too long ago, Venezuela was like maybe the second or third richest country in the Western Hemisphere.
Absolutely. Because
of their oil.
Yep.
And they had a terrific way of life down there, and it was destroyed, and it was destroyed by their government. And the same thing can happen here, Dana. We've seen many, many, many examples of it happening like in Europe and in Asia and in Africa, but the same thing can happen here if the wrong people get a hold of our government. And these wrong people have been trying to get a hold of the government. Like you were talking about, Bernie Sanders got his way in Venezuela. Venezuela is the model in Bernie Sanders' mind.
Absolutely.
And
what he says is it's possible to have democratic socialism. That's his word. Well, that's exactly what Venezuela is. It's a rarity. It's not fully democratic because they rigged the elections to an extent, but as much as possible. If you want to know what
democratic socialism, that sounds to me like what was tried in Germany in the late 1930s that led to the rise of Adolf Hitler.
Well, he was a socialist, self-proclaimed, self-labeled socialist, got elected in 1932, and he did the normal thing that people that call themselves socialists, these Marxist people, do. He outlawed elections. Now, as Venezuela, they have not outlawed elections, but they've ruined the country, anyway. And but again, this is the only country in the world that really fits Bernie Sanders' model, and it's a disaster. And the murder rate has skyrocketed. People can't get medical care. They can't get food. And this is what happens. Anyone that understands economics, understands government, knows this is what will happen. But there are too many people out there who are ignorant, and I'm sorry if I'm insulting people listening out there, but if you think that Marxism will work, that democratic socialism, such as Bernie Sanders suggests, will work, you just don't know what you're talking about. You have to watch these videos and see the reality of how your system works.
Amen to that. And again, check out AUN-TV.com, AUN-TV.com, American Uncensored News Network. And Dana, with that, break time, and you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dana Allen and Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network at WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, AM, FM 24/7. On the other side, we're going to be speaking with one of my favorite guests, Liz Peek. Don't go away. We will be right back.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
This is Rick Trader, host of the Conservative Commandos radio show.
And I'm John Forsyth, owner of WNJC Radio. Fellow patriots, the Conservative Commandos radio show is for conservatives, about conservatives, and by conservatives.
We are patriots who want to take our country back from the likes of Barack Obama, Harry Reid, George Soros, and Nancy Pelosi.
But we can't keep up this fight without your critical support today. Can you help? Please go to www.helpccrs.com right now and make a donation by credit card or PayPal. That's www.helpccrs.com.
Our goal is to expose the liberal agenda and distortions. We are fighting to spread the truth about political issues, political leaders, and conservative issues and values.
Our hosts are not paid. In fact, we buy our own airtime, studio time, and pay our own expenses.
We created the show because we are trying to make a difference. So can you help the CCRS expose the truth in 2014 and beyond? Go to www.helpccrs.com.
Help keep the Conservative Commandos radio show on the air by going to www.helpccrs.com and make a donation today to return our country to the conservative roots created by our founding fathers.
If your health care has become a burden and you're worried about being stuck for another year, you have options. Liberty Health Share could be the solution to your problem. Open enrollment is here and could be your chance to free yourself from insurance. Take this opportunity and join Liberty Health Share. You can finally be in control and have freedom when it comes to your health care. Liberty Health Share offers an entirely open network, which means you choose your doctors and you choose your hospitals. Liberty Health Share offers freedom from insurance, meaning no tax-related penalties. To find out how you can easily make the change, call Liberty Health Share today at 855-585-4237. That's 855-585-4237. Or visit their website at libertyhealthshare.org. That's libertyhealthshare.org.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos Radio Show is the commander of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We've established a front line of conservative leaders and ironclad patriots to revive the promise of America.
There must be some kind of way out of here.
We patriots have succeeded in securing the next 4 years of American prosperity, sovereignty, and liberty under President Donald Trump. But the fight is never over, and we must be forever vigilant.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
Do you have a passion for American values? Do you believe in preserving the American dream? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, Monday through Saturday from 12 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 AM, or around the world on the internet at ccrshow.com and ccrsnetwork.com. Check out our websites for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos Radio Show, where the newsmakers go to be heard.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
If you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com and ccrshow.com. At 11 a.m., Red Nation Rising Radio, or at midnight, log on to redstatetalkradio.com. You can listen to us at any time on your phone at 832-999-1199. I'm pleased to have with us today Liz Peek. She spent over 20 years on Wall Street, most of them as a top-ranked research analyst. Liz Peek is now a columnist and political analyst. Aside from the Physical Times, she writes for FoxNews.com, The New York Sun, and Women on the Web. Welcome back, Liz, to the Conservative Commandos.
Thanks so much for having me.
You've written an article about maybe the key thing about it is government trust. I'll just read the first paragraph on it. You say, one big takeaway from James Comey's testimony before the House Intelligence Committee is that the FBI is investigating whether members of the Trump campaign colluded with Russia. The other, that Americans no longer trust Americans' political leaders or its intelligence organizations. Tell us more about how you came to that, how this impacts the country.
Well, I'm sure I'm not the only person that was watching Twitter and Facebook while Comey was testifying before the House committee. It is just shocking to me how entrenched everybody is in their own point of view, their own ideological sort of safe corner. And no matter what came out of those hearings, half the people were going to think Comey was lying to protect Donald Trump, and half were going to think that he was lying to protect Hillary Clinton or Democrats or sort of on that side. It is and by the way, recent poll today, actually a poll out today, I think by Rasmussen, shows that that's exactly right. Nobody believes Comey anymore. Nobody's willing really to look at the facts. So let's talk about this wiretapping charge from Donald Trump about President Obama. My take on this is that almost everything Donald Trump says is slightly sloppy. And one thing he has to begin to understand is that as president, you can't be sloppy. But this was one of his signature statements, in my view, where he kind of gets the gist of it right and the details wrong. And, you know, there have been a lot of those, right? I mean, you've seen PolitiFact and all these groups go after him for, quote, lying, unquote. I think generally the president exaggerates or speaks, as I say, kind of carelessly. What I think he was talking about was that there was surveillance, if not of him, of people close to him, possibly of Trump Tower, etc. But, you know, guess what? You're never going to convince half the country, the half that voted for Hillary Clinton, that that's what he was talking about and that there might be some basis for fact in it. As we know now, Representative Nunes has come out and talked about this today. There was surveillance, but by the way, I go back, I really have a ace in the hole here, which is the New York Times from January 20. And the reason it's sort of wonderful that I have the hard copy is because on page 1, there is a big headline, wiretap data used in inquiry of Trump aides. And of course, the minute this whole issue blew up, they took that headline down. In fact, yesterday, because we do fact-checking at the Fiscal Times, they could not find a link to that article with that title because the Times has basically scrubbed it. But what it talks about is indeed wiretapping of people in the Trump campaign and people close to it. And now we know that goes back, what is it now, like 9 months, I guess. So, I mean, I think the point of this is that's all very alarming, I think. But I am willing to let this congressional committee do its work, try to track back to why those FISA requests, the requests of the courts to surveil or wiretap Trump-related people came through, why one was rejected, because that makes it sound like it was overly broad and maybe trying to ensnare other people that had nothing to do with this. You know, but I think what's kind of discouraging is your head is just spinning. I mean, you know, all these contacts between Trump people and the Russians and this and that and the other thing. I mean, I kind of want a reset where we just go back to really worrying about what's really going on in the United States. And don't get me wrong, it is not a good thing, obviously, if Russia tries to interfere with the U.S. election. I in no way think that it had anything to do with the outcome of the election. I think it was saber-rattling to make Hillary a little less sure of herself taking office because the Russians, like everybody else, thought Hillary Clinton was going to win. But it's disruptive and it's dishonest and also undermining of our democracy. My guess is, to be honest, it's gone on through many election cycles, and we just didn't know about it, or at least it wasn't as front and center as it is now.
Hey, Liz and Dana, can I jump in for a minute?
Sure.
Liz, it blows... My head wants to explode when I hear about the Russians tampering with our election. Okay, first of all, there's no proof anywhere that the Russians got into any voting booth and changed the tabulation, added votes, subtracted votes, or anything else. What it exposed, Liz, and I think people are forgetting it, and I am kind of on a mission to remind them, is all those... wherever those emails came from, however WikiLeaks got them, no one has refuted Hillary Clinton, John Podesta, Donna Brazil. No one has refuted that the information in those emails was incorrect. And it was the information in those emails, not the emails itself, that helped defeat Hillary Clinton. But so it's like Liz... those people got caught with their hands in the cookie jar, and they keep screaming at the top of their lungs, look over there, look over there.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think if you, to be totally fair-minded about this, if in fact it was the Russians behind the leaks of those emails, clearly it was done to damage Hillary Clinton. Again, I don't think, and it had some impact. More people perhaps thought she was dishonest, although that was a recurring theme through this campaign, and basically that never kind of went away. So, but let's assume for a moment the Russians had something to do with it. It had no impact on the outcome of the election. I totally agree with you, and I also agree that it was the content of those emails and not the revelation of them that we should be worried about.
Yeah,
Democrats should worry about.
If anything, I think whoever found those emails, they should get the Medal of Freedom Award, because they exposed Podesta, they exposed Hillary Clinton, and Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Donna Brazil and all the others on that side to be the frauds that they absolutely are. They should get an award.
I agree with you, but that kind of leads back, frankly, to the theme of this column I wrote, which is I just sort of despair of the country, and honestly, particularly young people having confidence in our democracy and our democratic process. Who did they love? They loved Bernie Sanders. What did they discover? That their own party was undermining Bernie Sanders as, aggressively as they possibly could. That's a terrible thing to realize this early in their political education. But between that and this incessant investigation into Russian connections and the whole narrative that has been created here, this is really damaging our country.
Well, it is, and it's a shame. But you know what? To the people who are Bernie Sanders supporters, take those rose-colored sunglasses off, because this is what politics is all about. Hey, Liz, we got to go to break. Could you hold on for just 2 minutes for us, please? And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dana Allen and yours truly, Rick Trader. And we're coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network at WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, AM, FM 24/7. Our guest this segment is Liz Peek, and we're talking about, well, I guess we just can't trust anybody in Washington anymore, can we? Don't go away. We'll be right back.
That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
The Conservative Commandos radio show is the commander of the Conservative Commandos radio network. We've established a front line of conservative leaders and ironclad patriots to revive the promise of America.
there must be some kind of way out of here.
We patriots have succeeded in securing the next 4 years of American prosperity, sovereignty, and liberty under President Donald Trump. But the fight is never over, and we must be forever vigilant.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
Do you have a passion for American values? Do you believe in preserving the American dream? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, Monday through Saturday from 12 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 AM, or around the world on the internet at ccrshow.com and ccrsnetwork.com. Check out our websites for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, I'm Kevin Wade. Conservative Commandos is happy to welcome Liberty HealthShare as a sponsor. Liberty HealthShare is a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. Liberty HealthShare exists for everyone who purchases health care for themselves or their family, or who wants to control their own health care. I run a small business, and we were caught in the confusion of Washington's ever-changing health insurance requirements. We found a common-sense solution in Liberty HealthShare. Liberty HealthShare is not insurance. It simply unites like-minded Americans to share medical costs together. Join a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. That's Liberty Health Share. To find out how you can easily make the change, call Liberty Health Share today at 855-585-4237. That's 855-585-4237, or visit their website at libertyhealthshare.org.
This is Pastor Christina Lamb-Manier, chaplain for the Indiana Republican Assembly.
And I'm her husband, J.D. Manier. We won the election, but we must now install President Trump's nominees. We urge you to call the Capitol Switchboard at 202-225-3121 and ask your senators to do their job. They need to confirm Judge Neil Gorsuch and remaining cabinet members.
We the people never want to see another Berkeley. The First Amendment doesn't give you the right to commit acts of violence. It pains us to watch anarchy unfold on college campuses, bus stops, and coffee shops. Thomas Jefferson said, all tyranny needs to gain a foothold is for people of good conscience to remain silent. Let us join in unity to pray for America. Once again, the number to call is 202-225-3121.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Talking about her article. And, on this, Liz, one thing that strikes me about is you're talking about how people don't trust the FBI and so forth. And I think that is a change. But there's something else that the media tells people is new and unprecedented over and over in every election. And that is that America is more divided now than ever before, and this is just baloney. I mean, the first time the Democrats lost an election to Republicans, they succeeded from the Union and went to war and shot and stabbed to death over 150,000 U.S. Army soldiers, and so that one is a lie, but I think you're onto something here. In the 1960s, 70s, 80s, people generally thought the FBI and the criminal justice system was independent. And is that what you're really talking about? Is this the
Well, yes. I mean, let's remember that James Clapper, told Congress that they weren't doing NSA spying. Well, guess what? They were doing NSA spying, and I think we're kind of on the brink of another exposure right now involving what kind of surveillance was taking place during the transition team of the President of the United States and his incoming aides and possible cabinet members. This is pretty shocking. And by the way, when people talk about how the country's gotten more divided, I do think that's true. I think in the 60s it was horrific. I remember, and I'm sure many others do too in your listeners, students rioting and people walking around with black armbands, all about the Vietnam War. Well, the 70s and 80s and 90s really were not that contentious. And I think the Iraq War kind of got everyone pretty stirred up. But I think the last 8 years, honestly, have been even worse. And it's remarkable that a seemingly genial president and a seemingly peaceful time in our country could lead to the kind of divisiveness that we have right now. But I think it's very real. And the idea that possibly President Obama was behind some of this surveillance of Donald Trump, I'd never dismissed that as a possibility. Why? Because Obama ran the most political White House I've seen in my lifetime, and that is a statement of fact. So many agencies of the federal government were called in to do political activity, and I don't mean just the IRS, but the IRS is obviously a very good example of it. Right. There was kind of partisan warfare from the minute he took office, hired Rahm Emanuel as his chief of staff. Whatever pretensions he'd had or promises he'd made about reaching across the aisle, they died that day, and they never came back. So I do think, I would add one other thing that's happened in the last 20 or 30 years. If you look at polling, of how Americans feel about various American institutions, it's a downward slope on almost every single one of them. Certainly Congress, certainly I would say big business has taken a big whack in terms of respect. The two groups that have typically been held out as still commanding enormous respect, the Supreme Court and the military, and by reference maybe the intelligence community, some of that stuff's being corroded now. I mean, when you have hearings for a Supreme Court Justice, Neil Gorsuch, going on that are so bitterly political, which they are, and there's no question about it, and of course the holdup on Merrick Garland's confirmation, the Democrats think was equally poor manners, if you will. The Supreme Court has been sort of ripped up by the president between the two houses of Congress, and it has a little bit been tainted again with politics. Not the first time, certainly. The Warren Court was certainly very political, and others have been too, but not a good thing. And the final thing I'd say is that the media has just, nobody believes the media anymore. And this is a compounding factor to all the things we've already discussed, but it is a really serious problem because in the old days, even during the Vietnam War, if Walter Cronkite came on at night and told you something, people tended to believe it. There is no source of news now that most Americans believe, and I think that's tragic.
Yeah, that's right. In the case of surveillance in general, an old friend of mine, Larry Klayman, who I'm sure you're familiar with, he won a Supreme Court case where they proved that the government was not only listening but recording basically every American's conversations. Now, since they won that, supposedly the government stopped doing that, but it's sort of hard to convince people that such a thing couldn't happen when it's known that it has happened, once. And your concerns through this article, I have some too. Is like riots are caused by a lack of credibility of the government often, and it can be perceived or it can be real. In the case of, let's say, Trayvon Martin or Ferguson, it was imagined corruption. The government was not corrupt in those two cases, but thousands of people believed they were, and it ended up burning down two cities just because of that lack of credibility. And that's your concern with what's going on now?
Look, what I really think, again, these are all sort of thoughts swirling around in the midst of all these developments that have come out. I think Trump supporters are going to be so frustrated if they feel like, rightly, that the entire country is aligned against a duly elected president. And, we all, I really fight the whole deep state concept, but I know it's true. I know that there are, for example, in the State Department, I have been told that there were any number of job reclassifications and changes made that basically allowed Obama political appointees to become government employees. The purpose of that was so that they could stay on after the Obama administration stepped down. They're there now, and they are holding on to power like nobody's business. And I have to say that the Trump group, partly because they couldn't help it and partly because they're disorganized and probably never expected to win, did not move their own people in fast enough to occupy some of the places that might fend that off. I know that happened in state. I know it happened in the EPA. I'm sure there are other agencies of the government. By the way, I've always asked people who've talked to me about this, is this new? Has this happened before? Did it happen, when George W. Bush left office, that some of his people burrowed in, it's called? And the answer is, it is new. This has not happened before. It is every bit part and parcel of Obama wanting to continue to wield power in Washington to further his agenda. His agenda is holding on by a thread, as he knows, because it was mostly done under executive order, and all of it can be overturned by the Supreme Court, except Obamacare, where it's going to be held on apparently by the Freedom Caucus. But I think it's a really good reason why presidents should be older, because Obama's going to be around a long time. He's hiring his non-for-profit that supported him, Organizing for America, is hiring hundreds and hundreds of people to make it very difficult for the Trump administration to hire anybody. There's a lot of bad stuff going on, and the average American isn't aware of this, but they're pretty aware that the president who was elected is not getting the traction that he needs to solve the problems of this country that he was elected to solve. And I think that could lead to a lot of frustration.
We unfortunately fairly soon have to end this. This is fascinating. I'm just curious, do you think it wouldn't create credibility for everything, but it just the one case that you mentioned about the IRS, where they are proven to be involved in extreme corruption against the Tea Party, no one ever went to prison. Do you think if there was some accountability on something like that, that at least for part of the population of the United States, the credibility of the criminal justice system could be reestablished?
I think the accountability is that Obama lost Congress and then he lost the White House. He didn't get Hillary Clinton elected president, and that's the accountability. And now I hope that the Trump team gets fleshed out and organized fast and gets rid of some of these people who have been bad actors. That is where the accountability will come from. In a perfect world, would people suffer greater penalties? Yes.
Yeah, I got you. Now, Liz, we got to go now, but how can people read your article and your work in general?
Thank you for asking. I write every Wednesday for the Fiscal Times, which is online, and I write almost every week for Fox News. Everything is on my Facebook page. It's Liz Peek /columnist.
Excellent, excellent. Well, this is a fascinating and very important topic, and I really appreciate you coming on today, Liz.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving us this interview.
Yeah, I really appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Okay. Bye-bye. We're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet and American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and AM, FM 24/7. Stay with us. Thank you.
Crazy, I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
This is Rick Trader, host of the Conservative Commandos radio show.
And I'm John Forsyth, owner of WNJC Radio. Fellow patriots, the Conservative Commandos radio show is for conservatives, about conservatives, and by conservatives.
We are patriots who want to take our country back from the likes of Barack Obama, Harry Reid, George Soros, and Nancy Pelosi.
But we can't keep up this fight without your critical support today. Can you help? Please go to www.helpccrs.com right now and make a donation by credit card or PayPal. That's www.helpccrs.com.
Our goal is to expose the liberal agenda and distortions. We are fighting to spread the truth about political issues, political leaders, and conservative issues and values.
Our hosts are not paid. In fact, we buy our own airtime, studio time, and pay our own expenses.
We created the show because we are trying to make a difference. So can you help the CCRS expose the truth in 2014 and beyond? Go to www.helpccrs.com.
Help keep the Conservative Commandos radio show on the air by going to www.helpccrs.com and make a donation today to return our country to the conservative roots created by our founding fathers.
If your health care has become a burden and you're worried about being stuck for another year, you have options. Liberty Health Share could be the solution to your problem. Open enrollment is here and could be your chance to free yourself from insurance. Take this opportunity and join Liberty Health Share. You can finally be in control and have freedom when it comes to your health care. Liberty Health Share offers an entirely open network, which means You choose your doctors, and you choose your hospitals. Liberty Health Share offers freedom from insurance, meaning no tax-related penalties. To find out how you can easily make the change, call Liberty Health Share today at 855-585-4237. That's 855-585-4237. Or visit their website at libertyhealthshare.org. That's libertyhealthshare.org.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos Radio Show is the commander of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We've established a front line of conservative leaders and ironclad patriots to revive the promise of America.
There must be some kind of way out of here.
We patriots have succeeded in securing the next 4 years of American prosperity, sovereignty, and liberty under President Donald Trump. But the fight is never over, and we must be forever vigilant.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
Do you have a passion for American values? Do you believe in preserving the American dream? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, Monday through Saturday from 12 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 AM, or around the world on the internet at ccrshow.com and ccrsnetwork.com. Check out our websites for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos Radio Show, where the newsmakers go to be heard.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Dana Allen and Rick Trader. You can hear rebroadcasts of today's shows. You can check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com and ccrshow.com, and at 11 a.m., Red Nation Rising Radio, or at midnight, log on to redstatetalkradio.com, and you can listen to us on a phone at any time at 832-999-1199. I'm very pleased to have with us today Susan Swift. She is a lawyer, a wife, a conservative mother dedicated to saving civilization from the destructive forces of progressivism. She and her husband of 23 years have raised and educated 7 high-spirited children. She provides a Christian, conservative perspective on topics impacting American culture, individual liberty, and the family, and has given political commentary on radio. She's contributed to other political sites such as Political Checks. Pardon me, I slightly mispronounced that. And she's also enjoyed a successful career in film, TV, and law. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, Susan.
Thanks so much for having me back on, Dina. It's a real pleasure.
Yeah, I met you at CPAC, and so I'm very glad that we have you on the radio here. And you've done an article. It's called Tommy Laren's Less Than Human Truth of Abortion. And what prompted you to write this article?
Well, it just really bugged me that Tommy Laren went on to The View and decided that, she wanted to be friends with the liberal ladies on The View, and kind of started, changing her position on abortion. And it just bothers me because she stood for conservative values, and now what she's coming back and she's saying, well, she has conservative values, she has liberal values, she has moderate values all over the place. Tried to veil it. What she said on The View is she said she's for limited government, so stay out of my guns, and you can stay out of my body as well. And that's an ignorant way of it's veiling limited government in such a way that it means nothing, and it's frustrating and it's frustrating on many different levels, because our Constitution declares that the Second Amendment protects the right to keep and bear arms. That same Constitution also declares that life and liberty come from God and not a woman's choice. So it's intellectually dishonest for Tommy, or I'm sorry, but any so-called conservative to embrace one and reject the other. I know there are a lot of moderates or fiscal conservatives who are moderates or liberals on the issue of abortion, but that is the litmus test of conservatism, is are you for killing babies in the womb or are you not? And it really does come down to a black and white truth of what abortion is.
That's right. It's not like it's an appendix operation or a gallbladder operation, which I don't think the federal government has any right to interfere on gallbladder operations. Medical issues are under the Constitution handled by the states. But the way I see it is it's just looking at one of the two beings that happen in an abortion. And in the past, we've actually had the same thing. The first big divide in American politics was on the issue of slavery, and the Democratic Party was founded, on the principle of perpetuating slavery, human slavery forever. And their argument was the same as the argument today. Their argument was, it's not really human life. That black people are so inferior to white people. They're not really fully human. They're just a clump of animal cells. It's actually the exact same argument. Have you ever thought about that, Susan?
Oh, absolutely. And that you're exactly right, Dana, because the whole lie of slavery was that it was okay to they never got to the point where it said, oh, it's okay to own a full person. They had to say, well, it's 3/5 of a person or it's property. They dehumanized blacks. They dehumanized slaves. And that's the history of the world, by the way. The history of the world is conquest and domination and owning people. And there are slaves all over the rest of the world, whether sex slaves or people who are truly owned in slavery. I mean, all of the world. Why America is so exceptional is because of our Declaration of Independence that said, no. Life is sacred. Life comes from God, and all men are created equal. From conception, from the very fact that God gives life. And that means that whether you're black or brown or white, you are equal. And that is what has made us so exceptional from all of these other different countries that believe that their government owns people and can barter or sell. And that's what makes us so different, is our Judeo-Christian perspective, the natural law upon which our Constitution was based. And when you look at that, I believe that all human life is sacred. I can't go pick it. It's above my pay grade to say that, well, some life is more equal than others. I can't say that whites are better than blacks or blacks are better than white, or that unborn is inferior to born. But that's what the women's movement, that's what feminism, that's the unholy sacrifice. They demand, not only do they demand, essentially they demand an unquestioned right to take life. What they're saying is, I can kill whoever I want to so long as you can't see them because they're in my womb, right? Politically, what these feminists demand, they screech at the top of their lungs, you have to give me your taxpayer dollars to help me kill whomever I want. And that's why we've got Planned Parenthood funded to, $350 million a year, $400 million a year of my money, helping people kill babies before they're born. I got no problem with that.
Yeah. Now, you've been deeply involved with this issue, so I'm sure you've debated and talked to many people that believe in abortion.